In My Hero Academia, 80% of the world's population have quirks, so there are bound to be some amazing quirks with insane potential that are just wasted on random people, and that includes heroes, villains, thugs, and innocent bystanders. So today we will be looking at 5 quirks that were shown throughout the series that seemed promising from its concept and had the potential to be powerful, but were sadly wasted on some side/background characters that were killed off before showing the full extent of what their quirks can do, or characters that never really do anything with their powerful quirks. My Villain Academia and slight war arc spoilers ahead. You have been warned. So for starters, coming in at number 5, let's talk about the sand hero Snatch and his quirk Sandstorm, which both made their debut in chapter 160 of the manga and episode 77 of the anime during the Shei Hasaikai arc. Sandstorm was an emitter type quirk that allowed Snatch to transform the upper half of his body into sand, leaving his bottom half exposed. He was able to use a large amount of sand and could manipulate it into whatever he wanted to. The only attack we ever got to see from Snatch was him forming his sand into a lion to attack Dabi. Sadly, that's all we really know of and get to see from Snatch and his quirk, because he ends up dying moments after his debut from being compressed into a ball by Mr. Compress along with Dabi's flames, which burned him alive. Now, what really made Sandstorm such an amazing quirk that had great potential was not only was he the first sand type quirk user that we got to see in the series, but during his encounter with the League, we find out that his quirk was a natural counter to Shigaraki's quirk Decay, due to Shigaraki not being able to grab sand with all 5 of his fingers. When we first find out that Snatch's quirk made Shigaraki's Decay basically useless against him, it was very exciting to see that there was a quirk out there that could actually challenge Decay. Prior to the appearance of Snatch, there was really no other way around Decay at the time, so it was so awesome to see a quirk like that. But of course, the second someone with an amazing quirk like Sandstorm makes their grand debut, leaving a good impression on the reader by having a quirk that could nullify the series' main antagonist's quirk, he gets killed seconds after his debut, which is honestly really disappointing when you look back at it, because we don't ever get to see him use his quirk to the fullest extent, besides creating a sand lion which looked awesome. But it also makes you wonder just how useful Snatch could have been during the war arc, which means Sandstorm definitely has to be one of the biggest wasted quirks with insane potential on this list. Just imagine the lives that would have been saved during the war arc. Next, at number 4, we have Leafipulation. This quirk made its debut in chapter 138 of the manga right at the beginning of the raid on the Shei Hasaikai. Leafipulation is an emitter type quirk that allows its user to control leaves from trees, as well as manipulate the leaves' properties in order to make them hard. Now, it's honestly a really cool nature themed quirk, but sadly this quirk is wasted on a random Yakuza thug who gets taken out the second he uses his quirk. This quirk to me screams wasted potential, because even though we barely see it in action, when I first saw this quirk, it immediately reminded me of Konan from Naruto and her paper ninjutsu, where she is able to turn her chakra into paper and has complete control over each individual piece of paper. She is able to form weapons out of her paper, as well as form wings out of her paper in order to fly around, and she can even harden her paper too. I could definitely see Leafipulation being used in a similar way to Conan's paper ninjutsu, especially if the quirk was given to a hero or villain, as well as having a dope costume made out of leaves, so that way the user always has access to a certain amount of leaves at all time. Leafipulation is definitely a quirk that could have had a lot of potential that was just wasted on a random thug. For number 3, the next wasted quirk on this list is Curious's Landmine quirk. This emitter type quirk made its debut in chapter 224 during the My Villain Academia arc. Landmine allows its user to turn anything into a bomb with just a touch. The explosions don't pack much power by themselves, but the more there are, the more damage can be done. In the case of Landmine, it's quantity over quality. Sadly, this is the second quirk on this list that loses its potential due to the user dying. Before Curious's death though, we see Curious use Landmine quite strategically by having placed explosive traps and being able to detonate them all at will whenever she saw the need to do so. She even turned people into walking landmines. Her support item called the Curious Flattener even allowed her to use Landmine in close range, where if her fist connected in hand-to-hand combat, she could set off a powerful little explosion upon impact. Though we really didn't get to see a lot from Curious and her quirk before her passing, what we did see really makes this quirk feel wasted. Imagine if she had gotten a quirk evolution and her explosions became a lot bigger and a lot more powerful, or even seeing the quirk being used in a fight where her and her opponent are going all out with their quirks would have been epic. This is definitely a quirk I would have loved to have seen more of. Hopefully, one of those near high-end Nomus has a copy of her quirk. Coming in at number 2, we have Magni's quirk, Magnetism. This emitter type quirk made its debut in chapter 75 of the manga and episode 41 of the anime. Magnetism allows its user to magnetize anyone within a 4.5 meter radius of themselves. Magni can magnetize a person's whole body or just certain specific body parts. Men are polarized south and women are polarized north. Unfortunately, this is the third quirk on this list that loses its potential due to the user dying. Before Magni's death though, her quirk was used in some interesting ways, from being able to catch someone off guard and sneak attack them in a fight, to cooperatively being able to launch her teammate into the air, and even was used to help the League escape Camino. Aside from this, Magnetism wasn't used all that much when Magni was alive, which is a bummer because Magnetism seems like a quirk that would have been very interesting to see in big combat scenarios. For example, let's say her opponent is a man, but the guy is a little too powerful, so she tag teams with Toga to fight him. She could use her quirk on him to pull him towards her, and then when close enough, she could then punch the guy square in the face. As the guy is still trying to recover from the punch he had just received, Magni can then use her quirk on him again, but this time she would also use her quirk on Toga as well. That way the guy will instead be pulled to Toga due to men being polarized south and women being polarized north. Then when the guy makes it to Toga, she can then kick or punch the guy as well while he is still in his dazed state. After that, Magni could just repeat the process over and over again, sort of like a twisted version of tennis or ping pong. The move would be called Magni Pong. This to me would have been such a cool use of her quirk that would have been awesome to see in action during a big fight. Now, I'm not the most creative person when it comes to super moves, so I'm sure Horikoshi would have came up with something even better than that. Still, this is a quirk that had a lot of potential, but it all went to waste when Overhaul decided to make it rain Magni Juice. Finally, for the number 1 spot, we have 13's quirk, Black Hole. This emitter type quirk allows its user to create small black holes through their fingertips. Anything sucked into these black holes will be disintegrated. With that said, this quirk is probably one of the most powerful quirks in the series. So powerful that we never see this quirk in action. Now, with this quirk being as powerful and as deadly as it is, it makes sense why 13 specializes in search and rescue, because if she was on the front line, there would be a higher risk of her accidentally killing someone with her quirk, and as a hero, you don't really want that to happen. But it just so happens to be that when we do see 13 in action, she is either incapacitated within a minute of her using her quirk, or as seen in the war arc, when she is using her quirk, the manga would just cut away from her and come back to her many chapters later, where we see that she has taken a massive amount of damage during her absence from those chapters. In the series, we never see 13 doing anything significant or interesting with her quirk. It doesn't even have to be her doing something incredible during a fight. Seeing Black Hole being used creatively in different ways to rescue people would be just as fine. All we ever get to see though is her just standing there and sucking the soul out of everything with her quirk. As of me making this video, we are 322 chapters deep in My Hero Academia, so we could end up seeing 13 doing something crazy with Black Hole in the future. But as it stands right now, this quirk has been a huge disappointment, especially since the concept of her quirk being a black hole is awesome. Hopefully I could remove Black Hole entirely from this list in the future. But those were 5 quirks that I felt were wasted. It really sucks that for most of these quirks we will never get to see the full extent of due to the user's untimely death. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on this list of wasted quirks. There are so many quirks within the world of My Hero Academia, so let me know what quirks you feel were wasted in the story that weren't on this list. Let me know everything in the comment section below. And who knows, there could be a part 2 to this video, since I know there are some incredibly powerful quirks that we never see the full extent of. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button below, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you are new to the channel and you want to see more My Hero Academia content, then be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on to join the Kitoroki Hero Academia to become my hero. Doing all of this really does help the channel out a lot, and it's always appreciated. Remember to stay plus ultra, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.